Intermittent Fasting, Meal Plan, Diet, and Exercise for Men and Women. Written by Frankie Jameson. Narrated by Denise L. Fountain. Introduction. Intermittent fasting is a controversial weight loss technique because it involves not eating food for an extended period of time. Many people have the notion that not eating will slow down your metabolism and send your body into starvation mode, but it turns out this is not true at all. In fact, the human body was designed to go long periods of time without eating, so intermittent fasting is actually a natural practice. Perhaps that is why it is so effective. If you would like to lose weight but don't want to give up certain foods or don't want to partake in vigorous exercise, intermittent fasting is probably your best option. Fasting will help you lose weight quickly even if you don't eat extremely healthy or exercise, although that would greatly enhance your results. This technique doesn't even require you to lower the amount of calories you consume. It simply takes a little bit of discipline in the beginning. If you don't like the idea of fasting, perhaps the benefits will convince you to give it a try anyway. Intermittent fasting has many benefits that will greatly increase the quality of your life. Some of the benefits include rapid fat loss, lowered blood pressure and cholesterol, increase in energy, especially in the mornings, enhanced memory and cognitive ability. These are just a few of the many benefits that fasting can offer you. If you simply want to be a healthier and/or happier person, it would be of your best interest to begin an intermittent fasting routine. So, how can you begin? There are a few ways one can begin fasting. One method, the one I prefer, is daily fasting. This involves eating your food for the day within a time period of 6 to 8 hours. That would mean you fast for 16 to 18 hours every day. The easiest way to do this is to skip breakfast in the mornings. You will benefit greatly from this. Even greater benefits will be experienced when you can lengthen the time spent fasting. For example, fast for 20 hours and eat for 4. Figure out what works best for you. Another method that works well is weekly fasting. This would involve a period of fasting that lasts between 24 and 36 hours. So, for example, you would eat as you normally do for 6 days of the week, then one day you would not eat any food at all. Drink plenty of water during the time when you are not eating. Weekly fasting is also effective, but not as effective as daily fasting, I have found. I encourage you to learn more and begin to incorporate one of these strategies into your life. Chapter 1. How to set up an intermittent fasting diet. Here is the extremely basic summary of how it works. On training days, eat 9 hours of the day and fast the remaining 15. On off or cardio days, eat 6 hours of the day and fast the remaining 18. Weight training 3 days per week. Cardio 2 to 4 times per week. Eat maintenance plus 500 calories on weight training days. Eat 50% of maintenance on other days. Majority of carbohydrate intake is on weight training days. Again, this plan is specific to fat loss. Plans for mass gain, bulking, and maintenance will be coming soon. Now for the detailed explanation of how to set up an intermittent fasting diet for fat loss, establishing eating and fasting times. The time of day in which you eat depends on if you are lifting weights that day or not. On lifting days, your eating window is 9 hours, and on, off, or cardio days, it's 6 hours. You will need to be able to weight train and do cardio at the same time of the day, as this will throw off the schedule. Eating schedule for weight training days. The fast is broken by a pre-workout shake, 15 to 30 minutes before you begin your workout, and lasts for 9 hours. For example, since I work out at 1 p.m., my eating window begins at 12:30 p.m. and lasts until 9:30 p.m. This can be inconvenient if you work out at, say, 8 p.m., so I feel weightlifting at lunch or in the morning works best. Next, we will look at setting up a schedule for off days or cardio days. Eating schedule for off or cardio days. The fast is broken an hour after cardio is complete and lasts for 6 hours. In my case, I do cardio at 1 p.m., so my fast is broken at 3 p.m. It remains 3 p.m. on off days. Since I train Monday, Wednesday, Friday, the big picture looks like this. Monday, fast ends at 12:30 p.m. and begins at 9:30 p.m. Tuesday, fast ends at 3 p.m. and begins at 9 p.m. Wednesday, fast ends at 12:30 p.m. and begins at 9:30 p.m. Thursday, fast ends at 3 p.m. and begins 9 p.m. Friday, fast ends at 12:30 p.m. and begins at 9:30 p.m. Saturday, fast ends at 3 p.m. and begins at 9 p.m. Sunday, fast ends at 3 p.m. and begins at 9 p.m. Determining calories, macronutrient amounts. Now that you have set up your eating, fasting schedule, it's time to figure out how many calories, fat, carbohydrates, and protein you will be eating. I realize that this might seem overwhelming at first, with all the math, but once you initially establish your requirements, it's really quite easy and routine. Calories needed for fat loss. Caloric requirements depend if it is a weight training day or an off cardio only day. To determine calories needed for fat loss, you must first determine the calories needed for maintenance. The easiest way to get an estimate is to multiply your weight in pounds by 15. For example, if you weigh 200 pounds, the total calories needed for maintenance would be 3,000 calories per day. Calorie requirements for weight training days. To determine calories on weight training days, take the amount of maintenance calories and add 500 to it. So for our 200-pound person, that they would be eating 3,500 calories on days that they lift. Calorie requirements for off or cardio days. To determine calories needed for off or cardio days, simply divide your maintenance calories in half. So for off or cardio days, our 200-pound person would be eating 1,500 calories per day. Macronutrient breakdown. Now that your calorie requirements for fat loss have been determined, it's time to figure out how much of each macronutrient you will be needing. The amounts will vary on if you are weight training that day or not. The macronutrients we will be using will be the big three: fat, protein, carbohydrates. Be sure to remember that fat has 9 calories per gram and protein and carbs each have 4 calories per gram. Macronutrient breakdown for weight training days. Fat. The maximum amount of fat eaten per day is 30 grams. It doesn't matter where the fat comes from as long as 10 of these grams are in the form of omega-3 fish oil. Protein. To determine the minimum amount of protein per day, you multiply your weight by 1.25. Our 200-pound person will need a minimum of 250 grams of protein to preserve muscle. To determine the minimum amount of protein per day, you will multiply your weight by 1.25. Our 200-pound person will need a minimum of 250 grams of protein to preserve muscle. Sources don't really matter. Just be sure to be mindful that you don't exceed the fat limit. Chicken, very lean, red meat, fat-free cheese, and protein powder, whey or collagen, are excellent choices. Carbohydrates. Carbohydrates make up the remaining calories in your diet. Once again, sources don't matter. Just be sure not to exceed the 30-gram fat limit, and you want to keep sugar below 100 grams. So in our sample person, he is getting 270 calories from fat and 1,000 calories from protein. With the caloric goal on lifting days being 3,500, that leaves him with 2,230 calories left for carbs. Divide 2,230 by 4 and you come up with a maximum carbohydrate amount of 558 grams. Macronutrient breakfast for non-lifting or cardio days. As I mentioned earlier, calories needed for days that you don't weight train or do cardio are 1/2 of what your maintenance calories are. Here is the macronutrient breakdown. Fat. Again, the amount of fat is unchanged from training days. The maximum amount of fat eaten per day is 30 grams. It doesn't matter where the fat comes from as long as 10 of these grams are in the form of omega-3 fish oil. Carbohydrates. On rest days or cardio-only days, carbohydrate sources should only come from fibrous green vegetables and the trace amounts found in your protein sources, such as whey and cheese. The maximum amount per day should not exceed 20 grams. Protein. The minimum amount of protein is your weight in pounds times 1.25. For our sample person requiring 1,500 calories per day, he would be getting 270 calories from fat, 80 calories from carbohydrates, and the remaining 1,150 calories from protein. That would equal 287.5 grams. Diet for weight training days. Weight training will be a 3-day-a-week full body routine. I personally use Monday, Wednesday, Friday, but the days are up to you as long as there is a day off between workouts. Keep reading from my workout recommendation. Pre-workout. On training days, the fast is broken with a whey protein carb shake 15 to 30 minutes before your workout begins. I suggest a mix of simple carbs and whey protein. Protein equals 0.25 grams pounds times weight. Carbs equals 0.25 grams or pounds times weight. Gatorade powder, not the pre-made liquid form, maltodextrin dextrose blend is my pre-workout carb of choice. Keep fat to a minimum here. Post-workout. Within 30 minutes of your workout, you have another shake, but this time use a whey and casein dextrose mix. Protein equals 0.25 grams/pounds times weight. Carbs equals 0.50 grams/pounds times weight. The rest of the day. Your first solid meal of the day is 1 hour after your PWO shake. This will be the biggest meal of the day, but I recommend tapering your calories down until your last meal. Remember, with intermittent fasting, you don't need to eat every 2 to 3 hours. Just make sure that you meet your caloric macronutrient goals. I do, however, recommend a casein shake right before the eating period is over. Since it's a slow digesting protein, it will help keep you full longer. Diet for off or cardio days. Since calories are greatly reduced on off or cardio days, the eating window is shorter. It works best to have 2 to 3 good-sized meals rather than the 6 to 7 you read about in muscle mags. On cardio days, the fast is broken with a 50-gram protein shake, 1 hour after cardio is complete. 2 hours after the shake, have your first real meal and continue until the 6 hours are up. As I mentioned earlier, carbs are limited to 20 per day and should consist of fibrous green vegetables and the trace amounts in food. Intermittent fasting diet weight training routine. Weight training is a full-body 3-day routine. Again, exact days don't really matter, but make sure you have a day off in between workouts. You will be working with the large muscles only, legs, back, chest, on days 1 and 2, and will add in the smaller muscles, arms and calves, on day 3. You will do 4 sets of 6 to 8 reps for each large muscle and 2 to 3 sets of 8 to 12 for the smaller ones. Here's a sample workout routine. Day 1, push. Flat bench press, shoulder press, leg press, weighted crunches. Day 2, pull. Rows, chin-ups, hamstring curl. Day 3, push, pull. Incline bench press, rows, squats, calf raises, lateral raise, barbell curl, tricep, push down, lateral raise, back extensions, weighted crunches. For maximum fat loss, cardio should be down 2 to 3 times per week. Start with a 5-minute warm-up and then begin 10 minutes of high-intensity interval training, or HIIT. This works best on an elliptical or a spin bike instead of a treadmill. You will do this in 1-minute intervals. Max intensity for 1 minute, followed by a moderate pace for 1 minute. Repeat until 10 minutes are up. After the HIIT session is over, drink some water and rest for 5 minutes. After you rest, do 30 minutes of low to moderate intensity steady state cardio. A treadmill works great for this. Don't forget to wait an hour and have your 50 grams of protein. Chapter 2, Secrets to Successful Fasting. Fasting is becoming more and more popular both as a weight loss diet and as a long-term healthy lifestyle choice. Many people have questions about how to set up a fasting diet. Here are 5 key points to get you started. Number 1, choose how long your fast will be. The possibilities here are endless. However, most effective plans use a technique called intermittent fasting. This involves alternating periods of fasting and periods of normal, although healthy, eating. Perhaps the 2 most common methods are a 16-hour daily fast, think overnight until lunch the next day, and a 24-hour period 1 or 2 times a week. The beauty of both of these schemes is that they can be made to fit in with you and your life. Number 2, drink more water. This is a simple trick that serves 2 purposes. Firstly, this will increase satiety, the feeling of being full, which is psychologically very important when you are not eating. Secondly, this will accelerate the cleansing effect of a fast and allow your body to function optimally. Break your fast with a healthy meal. Again, the interest here is twofold. Firstly, when you are getting a healthy meal in first, you are simply leaving less space to eat crap during the rest of your eating window, which is a guaranteed method to reduce the waistline. Secondly, eating a high-sugar meal immediately after fasting will drive your insulin sky high. Spending your eating hours crashed out in a carb-induced sleep is not the best way to eat. There is one exception here. If your first meal coincides with training, it is good to release insulin. This will help the body drive nutrients into muscles rather than stocking them as fat. Number 4, work out regularly. This should be a no-brainer, but working out, and particularly weight training, should be at the heart of every diet. This gives you the opportunity to eat more while still burning fat, increases muscle mass, which in turn increases metabolic rate, meaning you burn more calories doing nothing, and will make the biggest difference in your appearance in the shortest time. Number 5, follow a plan. Again, this should be fairly obvious, but the easiest way to succeed with a diet and exercise regime is to remove any choice. Don't overthink things. By following a plan, you are relying on an expert who has already thought it through. Just follow the instructions. Chapter 3, How to Set Up a Daily Fasting Diet. Daily fasting is becoming the diet of choice for many looking for health and fat loss benefits without complication. Here are a few steps to starting out on a daily fasting lifestyle. So what is daily fasting? While many people use the eating pattern in different ways, a basic definition might be a regular period of under-eating or no eating followed by a short eating window. The first question many people have is, why do this? Without going into the science, which is both well documented and pretty compelling, it is easy to see why a daily fast is a good thing. Having many hours every day without eating is clearly going to lead to fat loss, and a link between fat loss and health should be obvious. So what time period should you choose for daily fasting? Although there are many different possibilities depending on goals, lifestyles, and situation, a common plan might be a 16-hour fast followed by 8 hours of eating. While this might seem like a long time to go without food, it is worth thinking about what this really means. Most people will fast for at least 10 hours overnight. A 16-hour fast is simply stretching this until lunchtime. The beauty of this style of eating is threefold. Firstly, it actually makes organizing your life easier. Rather than having to find a particular food choice at a particular time, you are simply not eating. Secondly, a fasting diet is less restrictive than other possibilities. This does not mean that you can eat donuts for 8 hours, but it is not necessary to stick to celery either. Once you have taken in some protein, meat, fish, or eggs, and fruit or vegetables, which should be the basis of any meal plan, you can certainly eat some of your favorite food. In 8 hours after filling up on good food already, it is difficult to overeat on rubbish. Thirdly, and perhaps most importantly, this can become a lifestyle. Dropout rates for most diets are well over 90% after a week or two, simply because it demands a lot of willpower to be hungry all the time and not eat until you aren't hungry. Here you can actually fill up during your eating window, and many people, myself included, report feeling more alert during the fast. Daily fasting is becoming more and more popular as a fat loss method for the quick results it provides, but also because it is both easy to set up and, more importantly, easy to stick to long term. In fact, daily fasting can be both a short-term solution and a long-term lifestyle for permanent physique changes and good health. So how can you incorporate daily fasting? The first thing to do is to decide how long it should be. Most effective plans range from 16 to 24 hours, followed by a refeeding period that can be anywhere from 8 to 24 hours. This decision can be adapted to you rather than forcing you to make big lifestyle changes in order to fit it with the demands of an eating plan, something that is common in most diets. After establishing the length of the daily fasting period, depending on goals and lifestyles, the start and end points of the fast need to be decided. This is where the ease of intermittent fasting becomes apparent. For example, with an 8-hour feeding window, a good plan might be to eat from 12:30 to 8:30 in the evening and then fast until the next day at 12:30 lunchtime. Why is this an easy system to put into practice? Simply because it is not that different to what most people do anyway. Eat an evening meal, skip breakfast, and then start eating again at lunch the next day. The other question to ask yourself about daily fasting would be food choices. Again, here is another big advantage. Most other fat loss plans you care to mention will basically rule out a huge number of things that you want to eat. This is not a good idea for all sorts of reasons, particularly the effect this has on lipid, a crucial hormone in fat loss. This diet is far less severe in terms of food choice. Whilst refeeding on soda and burgers is not a good idea, certain foods that wouldn't normally be associated with fat loss are fine here and, in fact, will even help your diet. Chapter 4. 7-Day Intermittent Fasting Plan for Weight Loss. Ever heard the saying, if you fail to plan, then you plan to fail? There is some truth to this mantra. Most people fail on diets because of several reasons, but the most common ones are: diets don't allow certain foods the dieter likes, therefore the dieter is doomed from the start. Most dieters fail to plan their meals in advance and fall prey to random food choices. Poor willpower. Is there any way around the above scenarios? Of course there is, but few, if any, know the options which exist for them to enjoy foods they love and still lose weight. There is an easy way to do this, following a 7-day diet plan. Here is a plan to help fulfill the goal to become thinner by using intermittent fasting, IF. Fasting is a way to eat the foods you love but still catapult significant weight loss. The first day of the plan begins Sunday evening, since you will stop eating at 6 or 7 p.m. until the following day at the same time. Optionally, you can start the fast at breakfast time and resume eating at breakfast time the next day. IF is versatile, and you can tailor it to fit your needs. Follow these guidelines for optimal weight loss success. Monday. This is usually a work day for most unless there is a holiday. Prepare to fast today. Stay away from coffee, as it is one of the worst things you can drink, besides alcohol, that is. Despite the many who justify their coffee intake, numerous studies have pointed out the many poisonous substances in this dangerous drink. Stevia is a natural sweetener which doesn't raise blood sugar levels. Fast all day until 6 or 7 p.m., then eat. It may be a struggle when first starting, but eventually it will become easy. Break the fast with something to eat like a salad. It won't take much to fill you, as the stomach tends to shrink from not eating all day. Remember to drink plenty of water throughout the day. This is the key to fasting and helps you from succumbing to the munchies. Tuesday, go back to the normal eating routine today. If 3 meals are eaten, then continue to do this or whatever the normal routine is. Be sure to eat plenty of fruits and vegetables and have an adequate amount of protein with the meal. In fact, keep protein intake levels high in relation to carbohydrates. Drink water. Once again, your evening meal will be your last until the same time the following day. Wednesday. Today is your second and final fasting day of the week. Remember to drink plenty of water until the IF is broken later this evening. Thursday. Back to the regular routine. Eat regular meals consisting of mostly protein and reduced carbohydrates. Feel like a light dessert? Have it. Fasting has decreased your caloric intake, so there are calories to spare. What a fantastic benefit of IF. Friday. This is fun day. Maybe 2 fasts were done without any dessert this week, and it's time for a pizza or burger and fries. You fasted all week and have some calories in the bank and can enjoy these guilt-free. Go right ahead, but don't overdo it. Saturday. Continue eating healthy foods, which include vegetables, fruits, and lean cuts of protein, such as fish, chicken, or beef. Always remember to consume more protein than carbs. Sunday. It's pretty laid back today, and maybe dinner out with the family or watching the game is the plan. It's cool to have a few chips and some extras, but know your limit. Everything in moderation. Eat sensible meals or even a small cheat meal and start the fast again. Monday. Intermittent fasting is a great way to become thinner without giving up all the foods you love. It also has a variety of other health benefits, including a natural way to increase the caloric deficit to promote weight loss. Use intermittent fasting as your 7-day diet plan to create a slimmer you. Chapter 5. Intermittent meal timing for weight loss. Eating every 2 to 3 hours. So the idea behind eating every 2 to 3 hours is to keep the metabolism up, so the body has to ask for more and more calories, thus forcing the body to dip into fat storages. I honestly believe that eating small meals, almost snack-like meals, 6 to 8 times per day is one of the best ways for you to lose body fat. Even though it has been said that the body does not need small meals to keep the metabolism up, I think it's a great habit to train yourself to eat smaller meals. So when you are done dieting, you don't have this terrible habit of overeating. Also, you ensure that your body is using the food for fuel rather than storing any of it. So it's a great way to know that you are not overeating in any way. Eating only when hungry. Eating only when you're hungry is easier said than done. It makes sense on paper, but in actuality, the food can speak more than your discipline at times. So I believe that eating only when you are hungry is great, if you make sure that you do not overeat at meal times. It's a very natural reaction for the mind to go into panic mode and want to overeat because you know you are going to be waiting and constantly asking yourself, am I hungry yet? When dieting for single-digit body numbers, this can be a disaster waiting to happen because failure to plan is a plan for failure. Some people like to intermittent fast for a 24-hour time period or 12 to 18-hour time period 1 to 3 times per week for weight loss. They believe that the calories cut from the fasting days will make up for the days they do not cut calories for. This can seem like a relief to some, while for others this triggers an anxiety and makes them eat more. I have tried this myself and have honestly found that this is not the way to go. It makes me crazy over food and quite distorted, as I could never follow my body's signs. As soon as I stopped fasting, I got better body composition change. I think for the best fat loss, you need to eat every 2 hours, small and clean meals, having protein, moderate fat, and carbohydrates coming from vegetables. Give yourself a time limit, like 2 weeks, to see what kind of results you can make in that time frame. This way, the goal is short and you can do it. Realize for maximum fat loss, this is not something you should do for a lifestyle approach to dieting. Chapter 6. Using intermittent fasting to lose 10 pounds. If you are struggling to lose 10 pounds, you probably think you have tried every diet under the sun, from the zone to the grapefruit diet. Perhaps you have managed to get the pounds off and then put them all back with a little extra once you have gone back to normal eating. So, what is the solution? Enter intermittent fasting. Intermittent fasting is basically alternating periods of fasting, no food, with eating more or less normally. This has a few advantages over other diets. Perhaps the biggest reason why this sort of approach works so much better than anything else is because it is easy to follow. There is no need to count calories or plan everything you're going to eat to the nearest gram and the exact minute when you must eat. Because you are fasting either daily or 1 or 2 times a week, burning fat takes care of itself. Eating less is also easy because you are spending less time eating. This is a far healthier approach than constantly grazing. Who do you want to be, a lion or a cow? If you make the effort to break your fast with a healthy meal as well, this leaves even less place for junk calories. You don't need to calculate exactly. Your body will tell you whether you are hungry or not. If you are looking for the best results in the shortest amount of time, combining an intermittent fasting diet with a solid exercise program will see the fat dropping off of you very quickly. And the great thing is you don't need to suffer to do it. During the fast, you will feel alert and will be burning fat, and when you eat, you can actually eat to satisfaction, so you don't have to spend the whole diet feeling hungry and can actually stick to it long term. In fact, most people who embark on intermittent fasting follow this lifestyle either permanently or for regular periods throughout the year because of the great weight control and health benefits. Chapter 7. Intermittent Fasting as the Best Weight Loss Plan. For many of us trying to lose weight, it can be a time-consuming business that requires planning and organization that we struggle to fit into our daily schedule. It is this failure to be consistent in our efforts that is the main cause why so many weight loss attempts fail. Seeing this frustration in my own efforts and those of my clients, I researched new diet strategies and found the Eat, Stop, Eat and diet program that uses intermittent fasting as an approach to fast and sustainable weight loss. For those of you not sure what intermittent fasting is, the most basic explanation I can give is that for 2 or 3 times a week, you abstain from eating and just drink water for around a 24-hour period. I have followed this method now for the past few months and have seen great results with reduced body fat levels, increased energy levels, and a more positive relationship with food. But to clarify further, here are 3 good reasons why I think short-term fasting is one of the best weight loss plans I have used. Reducing my calorie consumption was easy to achieve. On a straightforward level, if you want to lose weight, then you must burn more calories than you eat. Now, to create this deficit, you have to be very careful about what and how much you are eating. If you don't track or have a good idea about just how many calories you take in, then it is very easy to overdo it and sabotage your weight loss. However, by fasting for 2 full days, I easily found over the course of the week that I could keep my calories low enough to lose fat and not have to restrict myself too much on the other days. Planning and organization was not needed. Prior to using this fasting technique, I was following the classic 6 meals a day approach. Now, while I have a good results with this previously, it has become more difficult to organize as my schedule got busier. Therefore, to me, one of the big advantages of intermittent fasting was the simplicity of how it worked. Just skip breakfast and lunch 2 days a week, then eat normally on the other days. This works well in my weekly schedule because it is flexible and requires little planning ahead. It is easy to stick with. One of the major hurdles people must overcome to lose weight successfully is being able to implement and stick with a plan long enough to see results. Generally, people stop dieting because they find it either too restrictive or just too bland and boring. This is where I think the intermittent fasting can solve this problem because, as I mentioned before, when not fasting, I really just eat what I like without worrying about it. Now, to be honest, I do follow a healthy diet because I enjoy it and what it does for my body. However, I do get the odd urge to have a treat meal every now and again. With fasting, I can have this and not have any of the guilt that would normally follow. By not having to stress so much about what I eat all the time, it never feels like I am on a diet, and this, I believe, is a major reason why I'm able to follow the program with ease. Obviously, if you just want to eat lots of junk food, then you're not going to get the most from fasting, and this will reflect on your physique. Nevertheless, you certainly can be more relaxed in your food choices than other fat loss programs I have tried. The trick is just to start by eating what you want while fasting. Then if you're not losing weight, just keep tightening your diet until you find the right balance. Chapter 8. The perfect number of meals for fat loss. The first thing that people ask when it comes to a nutrition program is, how many meals do I need to eat? They say this with some attitude because they assume I'm going to tell them 6 meals, and what we have learned about assuming, which has become the standard now for fat loss, muscle gain, etc. With so many diet programs and books available, there's a cookie-cutter approach that tries to have mass appeal. While I'm not criticizing the authors, I am suggesting to those that are reading to do a little self-experimentation and not to fully jump into one style. Find a few that look good and make them work for you. Are you able to deal with hunger well and enjoy the feeling of intermittent fasting? Then go for it. Do you hate hunger with a passion? Then eat 6 meals a day. The point is, instead of blindly following something as gospel, find out if it's something that fits your lifestyle or personality type. I've played around with many different programs in the past, but if I had only asked myself a few questions before getting started, I would have saved myself a lot of time. The key thing is, it doesn't matter how many meals you choose. It's what you can follow consistently. Sure, recent research is showing fewer meals is better for fat loss, but it doesn't mean fat loss is impossible on the 5+ meals. It's about what works for you. We've all heard it a million times, and I've said it a million times. It could be the perfect nutrition plan, but if it doesn't work for you, then forget about it. I've dropped body fat on anywhere from 1 to 8 meals a day. What does this tell me? They all work. Like I said, sure, some work better than others, but it's what works for you. Keyword, you. The number that has worked for many of my clients as well as myself is 4 meals. This gives you enough space between meals to raise hunger levels and boost fat-burning hormones, but not so much that you'd eat your left arm. So that's my favorite. But I still recommend you experiment with some different options. Try starting at 4 and work from there. Ask yourself what you can commit to for 4 weeks, be it an intermittent fasting schedule or 4 meals a day plan. Once you decide, add the foods that will help you get these goals and take out all of the ones that will hinder you. Keep track of your results. Remember though, when it comes to fat loss, hunger is not a bad thing or your enemy. That's body fat just wasting away. Now, just like a controlled fire, to be effective, it must be controlled. Let a fire, your hunger, go too long and you start getting into some lean muscle waste problems. Chapter 9. How to stop from eating too much. When you are trying to lose weight, the single most difficult problem to solve is how to stop from eating too much. The essence of a diet involves a reduction of daily calories. There are many ways to achieve a calorie reduction, one being eating smaller, more frequent meals. The purpose of more frequent meals is to combat hunger while still reducing calories during the day. When you are stuck eating 6 small meals a day, like typical diet suggests, you really don't have to worry about eating too much. The food is usually small portions of chicken, beef, and vegetables, making it tough to overeat. If you are lucky, you might even get to sprinkle in some almonds with a meal as a fat source. The description sounds bland, doesn't it? If all people ate were bland, boring meals, nobody would gain weight. What happens when you want to eat good food? Overeating actually becomes an issue when the meals that you eat taste good. If you happen to eat a delicious meal, losing fat becomes a real struggle. Every time you eat something that tastes good and overeat, you are taking a step in the wrong direction. The result is that you end up gaining weight back. This is why the conventional diet does not work. First, you are depriving yourself of food that you like. Even if you love chicken breasts and vegetables, eating them more than once a day, every day, gets boring. The same can be said for any other bland meal that you have. Initially, diets like this start off well because you are motivated and it's something new. Gradually, the constant eating and preparing becomes too much and something has to give. You have a weak moment and eat something you love. This alone isn't such a bad thing, but usually you will gorge on anything that tastes good. Not only did you eat unhealthy food choices, you also consumed way too many calories. For most people, this is not a good approach to losing weight. It is far too difficult to develop the willpower to break old existing eating habits and get results. If you struggle dealing with how to stop from eating too much, try intermittent fasting. This method creates a caloric deficit in a different way through planned fasting. By not eating for a day during the week, you automatically are cutting a day's worth of calories from your diet. What does this mean for the average person? You don't have to give up all the food that you love to eat normally. Keep in mind that you should always be trying to make good choices, but the moments of weakness will not be as detrimental to your success in weight loss. For some people, fasting for a whole day is just too much. That is the beauty of intermittent fasting. It is extremely adaptable to any situation. There are many tweaks that can be made to the program to allow you to lose weight and to lose it for life. If the idea of losing weight while still being able to eat some of the foods that you love sounds intriguing, I highly suggest that you look into intermittent fasting and what it can do for you. Conclusion. What's an easy diet plan? Is there such a thing? For anyone who's been on a diet, it's not an easy thing to do. Who wants to give up all the food that they love and eat so-called healthy food? Well, there is a way to eat real food and still enjoy an easy diet plan through intermittent fasting. How does one become thinner? It's a simple question. It's a simple equation. Burn more calories than consumed, right? This is easier said than done on a traditional diet since calories are restricted to a minimum, leaving the dieter feeling irritable, moody, and hungry. Some people are able to lose weight on traditional diets, but the majority start them only to find themselves gorging on burgers and desserts several days later. Why is it so challenging to become thinner by following a diet? Here's why. Most foods on diets are restrictive and leave the dieter with no variety. Diets invoke change, which most people resist. Most diets are not individualized to each person and don't take into account their differences in biochemistry. It makes complete sense to say diets don't work, but everyone is on one, right? So if diets don't work, what can one do to lose weight once and for all? Intermittent fasting is a technique in which the dieter forgoes eating for extended periods of time, usually 12 to 24 hours, on 2 non-consecutive days. It has been used for spiritual or religious purification for many years. Recently, increased research has focused on the benefit for losing weight and maintaining weight loss. The dieter forgoes eating to create a caloric deficit. They would have been doing the same on a traditional diet by watching calories and portion sizes. By fasting intermittently, the candidate creates the caloric deficit and also gets to enjoy some amazing health benefits as well. One of these may include eating some of the foods he or she loves without having to count calories. This method does take some getting used to, as it goes against conventional beliefs. If you're ready to give it a try, it has amazing benefits and is one of the best options for an easy diet plan. In summary, here are a few quick tips to make your fast easy. Don't try to fast the full 24 hours the first time. Do a short fast first and extend over time. Drink plenty of water. Thirst can sometimes be confused with hunger. Big meals can shock the digestive system after fasting. Break the fast with a light meal such as salad with tuna. Enjoy your fasting and the amazing health benefits it provides. This has been Intermittent Fasting, Meal Plan Diet and Exercise for Men and Women, written by Frankie Jameson, narrated by Denise L. Fountain. Copyright 2017 by Frankie Jameson. Production copyright 2017 by Frankie Jameson.